Are you thinking about teaching your child sign language but not sure about how to go about doing it or when to do it? Are you considering teaching them sign language but you're unsure if it's going to help their development or hurt it? Today we're going to answer all of those questions and more.
Welcome to the Beehive Doc Talks with Dr. Blair Rolnick. As a pediatrician and mother herself, Dr. Rolnick is here to answer your most pressing parenting questions and guide you through the tough spots.
So if you're new to my channel or this is the first time you're watching any of my content, my name is Dr. Blair Rolnick. I'm a board-certified pediatrician and a mom myself. I created this content to bring evidence-based guidelines and recommendations in a digestible manner to parents just like you. Baby sign language has been a parenting trend for the last few years. There's been a few studies published on its use in infants and language development, as well as parental relationship connections and tantrums and behavior. Let's break each one down and talk about the evidence for it, and then we'll finish up the video by talking about how and when actually to introduce baby sign language. So let's first talk about parent and child relationships. The research is actually mixed on this topic. There was some research that showed that it improved parental-child relationships, and one of the reasons that might be is because in order to teach a child sign language, a parent has to pay very close attention to that child and to see if they're communicating using any of their hands or expressions. In doing so, parents are better able to more quickly pick up or anticipate their child's wants and desires, thus minimizing frustration and probably improving their bond. Secondly, teaching your child sign language can be a really fun activity, extra opportunity for parents to bond with their children, which may also improve that child and parental bond. Probably the most interesting study that I found out there about infant sign language or baby sign language and parental relationships was published in 2011. And what it actually found was that parents who were involved in a structured sign language course were reported more stress than parents who were not enrolled in one. So really my takeaway thoughts on this is that if you are going to teach your child sign language, it should be fun and engaging for you as a parent. If it at all becomes a source of stress for you, it's probably not worth it. We know that parents who are stressed out or not enjoying the activity that they're doing with their child is much more detrimental than actually engaging in that activity with your infant or child. So if baby sign language is stressing you out, give it a pass. The second topic that kind of hit the news is that infant sign language or baby sign language can reduce tantrums in children. So again, when you're teaching a child sign language, you really have to be paying attention and looking at them. And so it allows parents to anticipate children's needs potentially, and it also helps children potentially communicate earlier their wants and needs, which may help reduce frustration and tantrums. So what do I mean by that? If you refer to my video on normal communication development in children, one of the things that I really emphasized is the fact that children learn to look and point before they actually learn to speak. And so children have better control of their gross motor skills often before they are able to engage in expressive language. So baby sign language utilizes that to some degree. And so between that 9 to 12 month mark, before children are really able to speak, they can learn to use their hands to communicate effectively. And this goes for both for formal sign language, so something like American Sign Language, baby sign language, but it also goes for just any gesture that a child uses to communicate. It doesn't actually have to be formal signing. A child may point or may look, and looking can even start as early as 6 months to communicate their wants. And if a parent is able to pause and pay attention to that communication, they're going to help or be able to communicate with their child their needs and minimize frustration and temper tantrums. So potentially sign language may bridge that gap when your child is between 8 and 9 months and 12 months where they can learn to communicate with sign language and before they are able to use language at that 12 to 15 month mark. So probably my takeaway point here is really natural gesturing like pointing and looking and using their own symbols to communicate is as effective in reducing temper tantrums and communicating effectively, thus reducing frustration as baby sign language. So again, if baby sign language is stressful or something you're not really interested in teaching your child, you should certainly pause and pay attention to their nonverbal communication or gesturing communication. And I talk a lot about pausing and how to pause and incorporating this into teaching your child language in my language hacks potpourri. So let's really get to the meaty question. Does baby sign language help enhance language skills in children? So it probably enhances a child's ability to communicate or express their wants and desires between the 8 and 9 month mark and the 12 to 14 month mark when they are not yet able to use words effectively. But during this time frame, children often develop natural gestures that are as effective potentially as sign language. The research shows that these are really short-lived improvements. So it may help from the 8 to 9 month mark to the 12 to 14 month mark, but children who are developing normally will all hit the same developmental milestones with communication and words, whether they were taught sign language or not. Another interesting question parents sometimes ask me is there the potential for sign language to actually cause language delays? So the short answer is no if you're using sign language appropriately. However, if you start to use sign language in place of verbal language, so if you're signing and you're not using words or spoken language, it can interfere with children's language development. So you want to be really mindful when you're teaching your child or your baby sign language that you are still using verbal cues along with those signs. So as long as you keep talking, it's totally safe. So that leads us kind of nicely into how do you do this? So the first question usually is when? When do you start using sign language? You can use sign language or baby sign language from birth. There's no age that's too early, just like there's no age that's too early to start talking to your child. When you do it, you want to repeat it with the word. So for example, a very helpful sign language might be food. So you would say food, food. So you're teaching the sign along with the word itself. You can also help your child as they get older, so closer to the 6 to 9 month mark. You can help them approximate the signs by actually bringing their hands into the sign that you want to use. So for example, if you want to teach your child more, you can bring their hands together or close together to help them approximate that sign. It's also very helpful to have healthy expectations for when your child might be able to sign back to you. Most children will actually be able to repeat signs back to parents around 8 to 9 months. I strongly recommend that if you're going to teach your child sign language, you pick around 5 signs at the beginning that you think will be most helpful in communicating with your child. So I usually like to start with things that either help children anticipate what is going to happen to them or help them express needs. So for example, food helps a child communicate when they're hungry. More helps a child communicate that they would like more of really anything: food, water, play, a book, a toy. So that can be a very helpful one. Changing. So that can be helpful, especially because there are some children out there who really don't like the diaper change, probably most children actually. And so if a child can be communicated with in a way that they developmentally understand and they expect to be changed, sometimes the expectation can help them handle behavior or an event that they don't actually typically like very much. So changing the diaper is a good one. Another great one, of course, is milk at that young age. So there's really nice videos out there that you can also use to teach children sign language along with singing or songs. So incorporating your normal talking into rhyming or singing, we know helps increase language acquisition, as does sing songs. So you can add sign language onto those sing songs, rhyming and talking skills that we talked about in language hacks in the other video to help further increase your child's ability to have expressive communication with you. So again, big takeaways from this is, if you're going to do sign language with your baby, make sure it's fun for you. If it's not fun for you, I would ditch it. It may help your child have better expressive language from that 8 to 9 month mark to the 12 to 14 month mark. If you're going to do it, make sure you keep talking, talk, and read and sing and rhyme, because those are tried and true ways to help improve your infant's communication and your child's communication skills. And lastly, there's no age too early to start teaching language skills or sign language. And if you're going to use sign language, you can expect that your child might sign back to you around that 8 to 9 month mark. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give us a like or subscribe to our channel.
Thank you for watching the Beehive Doc Talks with Dr. Blair Rolnick. For more episodes and her practice, visit BeKindPediatrics.com, and don't forget to subscribe for more parenting tips wherever you get your podcasts. This information is for educational purposes only. It is not medical advice. Always seek medical advice from a qualified physician.